right, spring chicken's ready. Sorry about the technical difficulties, everybody. So I wanted to start with something a little bit different tonight. I'm going to roll through it all over again. And I appreciate you guys sticking with us. And like Derek said, this is something new. You're getting the first teaser of what's coming for the future. And we're looking forward to it. So here we go. I wanted to talk a little bit about what I saw out of this Detroit Lions team the last time we played the Bears, and what I saw that was similar to some other teams. And what I saw was a team that got bullied. They got beat up. They got pushed around in week 11. It was the third time that I had seen this type of game from the Lions this season. The first coming in week 2 at home against the Seahawks, and the second was versus the Ravens. The game versus the Hawks, I saw a completely different team. Deflated. The nastiness that the Seahawks brought into that game completely ruined the Lions' mental attitude that entire game. The sheer disrespect that the Seahawks displayed against the fans put everybody in a funk. Everybody in the stands was upset. But the Lions played a better game that day than I seen against the Bears and the Ravens. But I came to realize something. The Lions want this culture, and it's a certain culture. But the Lions cannot sacrifice this culture for winning games and having this Walter Payton Man of the Year type of identity in place of a fierce smash-mouth football team that plays hard through the whistle, and a team that wants to gut punch you and rip your heart out like a real lion does in the wild. Or how a Detroiter will fight and scrap to stay relevant and full of pride every single day. That's the Detroit Lions of old. That's the team that we saw in the beginning of this season. It's also the same team that we saw at the tail end of last year. So I'm going to ask you guys, what does a Lion mean to you? What is a Detroiter? And can the Lions find their way back? I believe it starts this Sunday in a cold weather game, their first game outside, heading to Chicago with wind, rain, snow, everything is in the mix for Sunday. So that's what I wanted to start with. And I got a few things to end with, but I got a couple of statements too. Number one, Dan Campbell and the Lions have won 4 out of the last 5 meetings with the Bears. And number 2, the last meeting wasn't so great for Jared Goff throwing 3 picks. Fields put up 104 yards on 18 attempts, 5.8 yards per carry on the ground. And I'm going to tell you why that's irrelevant, and why if it happens again on Sunday, depending on what AG does, might be playing right into our hand. So I'm going to start with that. First topic is, Derek, do you think that Fields should be allowed to make plays with his legs and extend plays? I'm sure that the answer is an emphatic no. And why that is so important this weekend.
Okay. All right. So I thought about this earlier today, and I'm actually going to surprise you here. Justin Fields has destroyed us when it came to his feet. But if you put the game in the arm of Justin Fields, get some pressure on him, you can beat him. So I saw a stat, and I can't remember if it was this year or in his career. I want to say it's this year. If Justin Fields is over 100 yards rushing, he's lost all of those games. Now, that might have ended with the Minnesota Vikings, but while I can't stand him running on us, I think it might be to our benefit because, I don't want to see a guy get hurt, but we saw what happened last time he came to Ford Field last year. Ran for 70-something yards. We put him down, and we put him out eventually. They wound up pulling him out of the game, and we ran away with it from there. So I'm going to say, just like I said with Lamar Jackson before, I think we need to put it on the arm of Justin Fields. So should we want him to run? I say if we can't stop him, then we have to clean up when it comes to the secondary. So I don't want to say let him run, but I think he can do more damage if he can run and pass. So I don't think we're going to be able to stop him, Will, on the ground. We have yet to do it when it comes to Justin Fields. So I'm going to kind of in the middle there. I would say make him throw, but if he has to run, let him run. I mean, you got to stop him, though. You know what I'm saying? Don't just let him go to the end zone. You know what I mean? So both Baltimore and Seattle beat the Lions with mobile athletic quarterbacks, although it wasn't really necessary, or not necessarily with huge games, but big enough to get the Lions to bite. The Lions overcompensated for quarterbacks who ran and then left themselves wide open in the play action, the screen game, and deep balls in all 3 games this season. So rather than let Baltimore's Lamar Jackson or Seattle's Geno Smith or even the Bears' Justin Fields, kind of taking the game over with their legs,
Fields has been the leading rusher the last two matchups. What does that tell you? They're not able to run with anybody else but Fields. The Lions might be third against the run, but trying to defend too many things at once weakens our run defense, and it weakens our defense overall. And they're playing against the second-ranked rushing attack. So where I'm going with this, and I saw the same stat too. Let me find it here. I did write it down. I call it to contain or not to contain. It's a wild thought, but it's also a fact that Fields has rushed for 100+ yards 5 times in his career. The Bears are 0-5 every game he rushes 100+ yards. So to me, that tells me it doesn't matter what he does on his legs.
Exactly.
If you let him run, great. One, you're taking the ball out of his hands, but that also tells us that when he goes to pass, he's not having, whether it's the confidence or the luck or the ability to complete passes at a clip that are going to hurt us. But I think it's also intelligent teams that are scheming against him and saying, all right, beat us with your legs, but you're really not going to beat us. We're going to let you run. It's almost like we did what we did last year with the Vikings and Jefferson. We let him go off, right?
Yeah.
In one game, but we still won because we controlled everybody else. Whereas in the first game, we shut him down and we let Dalvin Cook have a good day. So it's almost like pick your poison. So in my opinion, it's all about what Fields can do with his arm. If you can restrict his throwing ability by bottling up the receivers, you can let him run all day and still win. It's going to be ugly, right? But nobody cares about ugly after the game because a W is a W.
Well, I care. I care. I care about ugly. I do.
Well, I know you do. So who wants to, do you want to handle chat tonight? How do you want to work this tonight? This is new for us.
Oh, it depends on how you want to do it, man. If you want to, bring the chat in as we go or have a segment for the chat or however you want to do it, that's up to you. I did want to say something. Justin Fields, his long against us, the first matchup this year, 39 yards. 39 yards. He had 169 yards passing. This guy, if he was a better quarterback, we would have lost that game because our secondary is not up to par with stellar quarterbacks, and he's not that, especially with his arm. He'll rip you up on the ground. I've never seen anything like it. He reminds me, it's just like, why can't we contain this guy? No matter what, every single matchup is the same thing over and over and over. And it was a play near the end after he did his little shimmy shake, running down left side. I can't remember the dude's name, but he's got a couple steps on. I want to say it was Jerry. And if Justin puts that thing in the bread basket, game is over. Game is over in victory formation. But he's not the best accurate, thrower with the ball. So I feel like let him get 170. Give him 200. Okay, give him 200. Make him beat us with his arm and see what happens then.
So Southwest Lion 16, hey, nice to see you in tonight. I like this comment here. He says, this doesn't even require creativity from AG. Just an open mind. Look at what the Vikings defense did and copy it. I think it's a great take. And I like how it doesn't really require creativity from AG. I mean, to me, it's kind of simple. And I think if you start to simplify things like the Lions did last season after week 5, or was it week 6 that they let Pleasant go? They totally stripped down the defense and they lightened everything up for the guys so that they could play more loose, right? Anzalone could finally, play a little bit more loose and get back to what he knows how to do. And he had the best season ever. So I think it's right on point here that maybe they need to dial it back just a little bit and stop trying to install everything. And maybe they'll have a little bit more success. David Petrock says, Jerry Jacobs tweeted that he would clean up his play after the Chargers game. Haven't seen it yet. I hope Kindle Vildor can step in and show some promise. Do you know anything about Kindle Vildor? Because I honestly don't. I don't know much about the guy at all. He got a cool name. Sounds like he should be on Hogwarts or something. But I was
just about to say, I don't know anything about this kid. I know where he came from, at the top of my head, but I have no idea. But we also have Gilmore that I think has not even been dressed this year. So we've got a few options now, but are they better than Jerry Jacobs? And, he's not going to get better. That's who he is. He's an undrafted free agent who worked his way into a number 2. But let's be real. If we had the personnel, would Jerry Jacobs be a number 2 right now? The answer is emphatically no. No.
Yeah, no, he'd be a number 3 at best.
At best.
Opinion, too.
At best.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So my next topic would be the Lions' red zone struggles, kind of on both sides of the ball. We get inside the 20 on offense, and it just seems like we stall. And I've noticed something about the Lions, and I don't know if you guys have in the chat or if Derek, if you've noticed this as well, but is it just me, or do the Lions throw the ball before the goal line? We're not throwing into the end zone. It's almost like we're completing passes outside of the end zone to get yak and get into the end zone. Why are we not taking shots from the 25-yard line inside the end zone to eliminate, a third down opportunity deep in the red zone, right? Because that's what's happening is they run on first, they pass on second, it's third and long, we're at the 15-yard line, and everything falls out. And we got to go for it on fourth down. And either we get it or we, pooch a field goal finally. But I just don't get why we're not taking those shots. I mean, Jared Goff has developed some real nice rapport with Laporta.
Yeah.
And St. Brown now for a season and a half. And they're catching long balls 20 plus yards all day. So why not in the red zone area?
I'm trying to think of why. I thought about that as I was making my preview video today. And the Lions are second in explosive plays under the Miami Dolphins. Our record is better. Our defense is slightly better overall, or as far as I think we rank 24, somewhere around there. I can't remember what metric it is, but I was thinking the same thing. We have Sam Laporta. We've got Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery, but we can't score inside the red zone. So I don't have the answer for that as to why that is. But I'm not going to complain because we're second to Miami. Like I wouldn't have thought we had the personnel. Jameson Williams been on the shelf for 4 games, came in, things were a little rough. He starts getting it moving, and we're scoring outside of the red zone, 40, 42, 39, 37. So I would love to see that red zone offense increase, because I think when it's time, when you need to score a touchdown in that short yard situation, you have to be able to do it. And I don't know, Will. I don't have the answer as to why that is.
I don't either. It's something that is missing. When we had DJ Chark, it seemed like they took more opportunity at the end zone. And then when they grabbed DPJ, I thought, man, this is perfect. This is a 50-50 ball guy. It's an end zone guy, corner guy, a sideline guy. We don't have this kind of player yet. He's going to fit in nicely and fill in all the gaps. Nothing. But I just saw something pop up. And Nasty Man Nate 88 says, it sounds like Bugs may play from the sound of what MCDC said today. What do you guys think? So I put out a video on this right away today. And MCDC has been kind of different lately with his body language. He didn't seem real confident that Bugs was going to play. He kind of has been mentioning Bugs third or fourth. He mentions Bohanna, then Benito and Levi, and then he says Bugs. Like he almost forgot about Bugs. And that bothers me. And nobody knows what has happened in the locker room, or if anything has happened at all, or if anything's happened between him and AG. There's been a lot of speculation, unsubstantiated. So I'm not going to spread rumors. But to me, Bugs was very integral part of this defense last season. And he's been a leader ever since he's been in Detroit in his own way. I don't know what happened this season, but just about every game he's been in, the Lions have had some of their best defensive output. So I would love to see him back on the field. Call it a fluke, but I think the Lions would have a great day if Bugs is on the field on Sunday. That's what I think.
And I agree. I think I did a video talking about Bugs and what it would mean for him to be on. And it seems like we do get to the quarterback a bit more when he is on or in. So I agree. And the thing that bothers me is I understand if there's a message that might be trying to be sent to Isaiah Bugs, but do you want to win or you want to send a message? And Bugs, to me, seems like he helps us do that. But then you go get Quentin Bohanna, you go get the Land Before Time too, in Tyson the Lua, right? So, and this guy's not in foot, fresh off the couch. These two fresh off the couch. And then you got Broderick 11 snaps Martin. And Will, you know how I feel about him because I talk about him all the time. So if Isaiah Bugs can help us to limit the yardage of Justin Fields, you gotta put him in. You gotta put him in, because if Isaiah Bugs can help us get to the quarterback, stop the quarterback from scrambling, or slow down the run, put him in. Put him in. You can handle all that stuff in the offseason. I don't even know if Bugs is in the contract next year. Haven't really dove into it like that. But if he's not, let him go. Let him go. Be done with it. Let him move on to a new team. He's only 28 years old. He's got a lot of years left. So put him in. He's on a team. He's a wasted spot if he's not in. Put him in to help us win. And then, you can tell him to kick rocks when the season is over.
And I would agree with all that too. Again, I think it goes back to my opening statement that the Lions are trying to have this Walter Payton Man of the Year type of culture, which is great. I think it's fantastic. But it's sacrificing potential wins when you're putting somebody on the bench, the proverbial bench, when, you're not putting them in and they're healthy scratches and they're on the sideline in street clothes making $500,000, but they're not playing. When I've seen Bugs in, the guy can take up 2 gaps. And if you can take up 2 gaps against Justin Fields, that means we have somebody open to get free to either spy Fields or follow him around a little bit and get to him. Personally, on a defensive note, I saw Southwest 16 Lion or Southwest Lion 16 mentioned that the Lions need to get to more of a 3-3-5 style of defense. And I would say that I am in complete agreement with this. I was thinking about the defense this weekend, and I was thinking, you know what? How come the Lions, we're down Aleem, right? It's going to be tough to fill his shoes with what we have on the roster. And like Dan Campbell said, it's going to take multiple guys to do it. So when are the Lions going to start deploying more of a dime technique, but put 6 DBs in, 3 and 3, 3 safeties, 3 DBs or 3 cornerbacks, but drop a safety down like a linebacker. He's faster. He can cover. You can put him on the tight end if you want to, or you can rush him every single time. If we can't get home with Aiden and Pascal and Kaminsky and everybody else, Bohanna and Benito, if they can't get home, have them contained, control the zone, right? Mm-hmm. Send in a DB, send in a safety or even a linebacker, but in a 3-2-2 or whatever it is. 3-2-6. Then you're not going to have an extra linebacker. So in my opinion, I feel like they need to go to more of a dime technique, but more of blitzing. We need to see more blitzing. And if we can't get it up front, we've got to get it out of the back. Would you agree with any of that, Derek? Or, what do you feel about AG's scheme and kind of what vanilla scheme he's been running?
See, I got to go a different direction. And I agree with what you're saying about his potential scheme. But I believe Will is personnel as well. I mean, if you think about it, we've seen blitzes before. And I've seen blitzes where Alex will get through, and then I've seen them where no one gets through, right? And then the middle of the field, the secondary, again, you're relying. Cam Sutton is solid. Brian Branch, he's out there doing his thing. Tracy Walker. But on another other side with Jerry Jacobs, if it seems like it's always open, somebody is always open, because when you sell out like that, you got to get to the quarterback, and doesn't seem like those linebackers can get to the quarterback. So something's got to change. But I feel like, and I was talking about this in my show today, is that something needs to go, some blame needs to go on Brad Holmes as well. But as far as Aaron Glenn, he's stubborn. He doesn't want to change. He said something yesterday about everyone likes to go to scheme. And I'm like, yeah, because if you don't have the personnel, you've got to do something, right? So I'm going to put it on Brad long-term, but AG short-term.
Brad long-term.
Mm-hmm. Don't get me started on Brad, Will. I have everybody on the shouting from you, man. I'm telling you.
I mean, that we've seen the deficiencies with this defense. And I guess, that's going to bring me to another question. I watched an episode this morning of another channel.
Okay.
And they asked the question, is our defensive deficiencies more of a personnel thing or an AG thing? And this person's answer was lack of personnel and injured players, Lack of drafted players taking the next step in their second year in the scheme. And he also said that since the Ravens game, the team kind of took a big step back, put players in a better position to succeed. Jacobs and Joseph, as we mentioned, but we must get pressure on the quarterback. Having a Bruce Irvin getting pressure and a sack off the couch. There are issues with Pascal and the Aquara brothers. My question is, why didn't he mention anything about Aiden? He left Aiden completely out of it. And I get it if he's not trying to rub the fans the wrong way. But if you want to be open and honest and transparent, pressure means nothing, right? You can put as much pressure into the soil as you want. But if there's nothing down there to squeeze out a diamond, guess what? There's nothing down there coming out. So get all the pressure you want. If it doesn't turn into a negative play, it doesn't do anything.
Right.
We are getting tons of pressure, but quarterbacks are still having 3+ seconds to pass the ball. How can you even record that as a pressure? There has to be some sort of a metric that says it only equals a pressure if the ball's out in under X amount of time, you would think. But no, they can hold on to the ball for 9 seconds like, who was it? Jordan Love?
Lamar Wilson. I say, no, it was Lamar Jackson.
It was Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, 9.4 seconds.
And they still call it a pressure. Like, that just blows my mind. So I think when you think about these stats, all of us need to take into consideration that they're just stats and they're just metrics, and it doesn't explain everything. Yeah, I'm somewhat of a stat and analytical nerd. I think that, it does help you define some things, but it doesn't explain everything. So what do you think about that? He didn't say anything about Aiden. Do you think that, Aquara and Pascal are the issue when they've barely been on the field this season?
Okay, in relation to Aiden, or are they separate or together? Are they?
It's kind well. So he didn't mention Aiden at all, but he mentioned that Pascal and the Aquara brothers were really the main reason why we're not getting home and having these issues with personnel. But they're barely playing. So how can you blame them if they're barely on the field? That's my question.
I say so. So he took some responsibility from Aiden, and I got you. And he essentially gave it to the two people that's not on the field. Well, Aiden's out there, but
guys that are barely playing.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So I'll say this. I love Hutch. I'm pro Hutch. I think he has potential to be an absolute stud. Puts on some muscle, works on his moves. He needs in the off season, go work out with Nick Bosa. Go get some veteran from Joey Bosa. Get out there with Myles Garrett. See what type of food routine he's on. See what type of arm exercises he does. Work on some moves so that you can up your craft. But as far as Hutch, I think it falls. I love Hutch, but Hutch got to work on his moves. He's got the motor. I think he needs more power. If you look at the massive defensive ends, even Josh Allen, one of my favorites, Aiden, he's kind of a little lanky. You know what I'm saying? He got more height than mass. And you can see he put more on, Will, this offseason. I think, he bulked up. I think he's going to do it again. So I think some of it falls on Hutch, but I think a lot of it too, Will, falls on lack of personnel, that you can put 3 or 4 guys on him. We saw a Green Bay Packer, 1 guy, 2 guy, 3 guy. Nobody else was near Jordan Love. So I feel like I hear what he's saying, and I agree and disagree. Hutch got some work to do. He's only in his second year. He's got growth. But I think to your point as well, some of it does fall on Hutch.
I think it does. I mean, he definitely is going to grow into a fine athlete. Whether that's an elite athlete or not, it's yet to be seen. The Lions definitely are missing some personnel, like you started to talk about too. It's a personnel thing where we need a couple of guys. We need some guys next to Hutch, on the other side of Hutch.
That's not 36, by the way.
Right. But that's my point too, is like, if you do have a guy that's 36 years old and he's coming in the game off the couch 2 weeks prior and he gets a sack, makes me wonder a little bit more about that number 2 overall. Like, what is he not doing? It's not like Bruce Irvin just has, better skill or better speed. I mean, I got to imagine the Hutch is faster and more powerful, being 14 years younger than Irvin. But let's think about it here. What does Irvin have above and beyond what Hutch doesn't have? One, you were right about one thing. Hutch is lanky. Irvin is more compact, right? He has more power. He also has longer arms, so he's able to shed blocks. Hutch's arms are a little bit short for how tall he is. Hutch has speed. Irvin probably doesn't have as much speed anymore, but he's still pretty quick off the first step, like Dan Campbell said.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is.
The biggest thing I see is the hand fighting. It's the hand techniques. And Hutch likes to lock up, bull rush, and then that damn spin. And every time I watch him spin, think about it. If that's a quarter of a second, now I don't know the timing. I've never timed him. Even if it's an eighth of a second, the ball can be out, right?
Yeah.
You're spinning, you're taking yourself out of the play. Just that minute moment is you going a little bit deeper and reaching in, right? And swatting the ball.
Yeah.
Or getting your hand on a quarterback. So hand techniques for Hutch, I think he's got to go to hand school, just like Glover Quinn likes to talk about for the DBs. He needs to go to hand school this offseason and take some karate, some jiu-jitsu, whatever. Taekwondo, I don't know what it is. Do something. And then I think he'll get home a little bit more.
Yeah, as long as he take Broderick with him. They both need to go to hand school because of course apparently that's why he's not in. So,
Well, I'm gonna jump over to the chat for a minute. Let's take a break from this, and I'm gonna wind it back just a little bit. I apologize about taking a little bit of time here. Cartier said, Cartier Madlock says, my top 2 favorite Lions YouTubers. Y'all keep it honest. Appreciate the compliment. You're a first timer that I've seen into this stream, so really appreciate you jumping in tonight with us. Lauren, always a consistent. Lauren McQuaig says, here's why Isaiah Buggs has been benched by the Lions. Just do a copy and paste, and the numbers on Buggs are there. His numbers just haven't been great. And I agree with his, numbers not being the best, but Buggs has always kind of been a production guy, meaning he's helping the rest of the team produce. He's the gritty guy. He's the get dirty guy. He's not going to be the guy that cleans up and gets all the sacks and the stats. And sometimes those role players are needed on every team to do the dirty work, and it allows everybody else to eat. Would you agree or disagree with that, Derek?
About Buggs being in and the difference allowing
him kind of being the dirty guy, to do the dirty work to allow the other guys to kind of do their thing.
Yeah, I agree because it seems like I said before a little earlier in the show, when he gets in, we seem to have more of an effect on the quarterback. And I'm not talking about pressures and knockdowns. I'm talking about getting him to the ground with a recorded sack. So for that to happen, you need those dirty guys. And Isaiah is that dude. He's one of those dudes for sure. So I agree, man. And that's why I don't understand why he's not in. Why are you not in? You're trying to play to win the game. So you put your best team out there. You don't put, like I said, you play to win the game. I love it. I usually have that on mine too, but it's a new one. I got to put the new sounds on there. But I'm like, Buggs.
Steve K, nice to see you in here. Sorry, keep going, Derek.
No, he just needs to be out, man. He needs to. You got to listen. If you about business, right? You about business. Me and you both businessmen. You more savvy than I am. But if you are a man about business, you gon' be about business. So it's about winning games. You said it earlier. Ugly wins don't matter. Okay, so get wins. And if Isaiah Buggs, being that dirty guy, the cleanup guy, he's like the cleaner, come in, clean up a crime scene, put him out there. He's already motivated. Somebody said in the chat, he feeling some type of way. You know what I'm saying? Put him in there. I don't understand.
Right. He's probably got so much pent up energy right now. He's ready to go ballistic on somebody. And maybe that's what's happened. Maybe he finally lost his cool. I don't know. Lauren McQuaig was making a point the other day. I think it was that the same kind of thing happened with the Pittsburgh Steelers, that the quote unquote illness kept popping up
with Buggs.
And I haven't had a chance, Lauren, to do the research on that, but I plan to after this weekend or during this weekend's game. I'm going to find and read those articles because there's something to it, right? Whether we understand all of it or not, there's something to it. And I've been saying that all season. You just don't have an illness all season long, or that's the main reason why you're not in, unless he does legitimately have something going on. And if that's the case, I wish him nothing but the best, and I hope he gets better, whatever that illness may be, because there could be many different types.
Okay, so cut him, make some room for somebody that we can use.
Yeah, and that's the thing that doesn't make sense. And I think, what is his contract this year? About $5 million or something. And
Yeah.
I know they restructured it, renegotiated, or did something. And this might be his last season, but they're probably just trying to limp him through the season, get the man paid, and he's probably on his way out too.
No, it ain't no problem. He's gone. He's gone. You mean the Lions or the NFL?
No, I think he's done with the Lions.
Oh yeah, he's been done. He was done before Kansas City.
Yeah, that's kind of like when everything started to fall off. Is right that week before he started doing some cryptic tweets, and things just haven't been the same since.
Yep. So
a couple of hot topics. Number one, Ndamukong Suh. I know y'all want Ndamukong Suh. I've even mentioned his name. I thought that it would be a great opportunity for him to come home and help us win. Maybe have a chance to go up against his old pal Matt Stafford in the playoffs. Who knows? I got to break it to you guys. On Wednesday, Dan Campbell put it to rest that there was any hope of an Ndamukong Suh return to Detroit. When he was asked if the Lions had considered taking Suh to help the defensive line, Campbell essentially said he and Brad Holmes have looked everywhere and hadn't overlooked anyone. That they made the best decision for the team. So that was when they grabbed Alu Alu or Alu Alu. I know that people say it different, Alu Alu or Alu Alu. At any rate, Suh's not coming home. He's not coming back to Detroit. And if he does, it would be a huge surprise. I can only imagine how much money he wants that the Lions really don't have right now. They'd have to make some room. But just based on what Dan Campbell said, he's not coming. So, some of these other channels out there that keep throwing the stuff out there that he's coming here, it's not happening. Dan said it himself. Anything you want to add to that, Derek?
Yeah, I do, but somebody else want to say something too. No. When it comes to Ndamukong Suh, I've been saying this forever. This guy left almost 10 years ago. He does not want to be back here, let alone our regime wants nothing to do with Ndamukong Suh. So that can be the tagline. The Lions want nothing to do with Ndamukong Suh. We didn't draft Jalen Carter. We're not going to have him come in. History, his current, as a matter of fact, somebody told me that he threw a little shade on us the other day, said we were pretenders. I forgot who told me that, but that the Lions are pretenders. So he definitely ain't coming here now. But Suh is like, he's like the mean Stafford. And what I mean by that is we just can't let this guy go. He hasn't, right. He won a championship with Tampa Bay and Tom Brady and all them, but every single year we just want to bring back Ndamukong Suh. When he chose to leave, his rookie contract was up. He did not re-sign here, and I don't blame him. But the time for Suh has come and gone. Let him go.
I'm with you there. Brent, nice to see you in tonight. Brent had a good statement here. He said it's not just a player issue. He believes it's 60% scheme, that AG has to mix it up. This issue is so irritating. Sending 4 all the time doesn't work. If it's broke, you got to try to fix it, right? Unfortunately, it's been broke for a while, and AG hasn't really done anything different. So let me switch gears here and pull up a couple of defensive notes. And we already talked about Aiden. We talked a little bit about Justin Fields in the fact that even if he does put up 100 yards, they haven't won those games every time he's gone for 100. So it almost makes sense to kind of let him run. But the Bears do something a little bit similar to the Lions. They run this vanilla cover two zone scheme. It's very archaic. It's predictable. It's easy to pick apart. Why we didn't do it the last game, I don't know, but it was there, especially with the way Laporta and St. Brown catch their balls pretty much over the middle and crossers all the time. The receivers need to find those open holes and kind of sit in that zone and get open. The Lions are one of the best teams to do it, like I said, with Laporta and St. Brown. If they start running those crossers and it starts to work, stick with it. But this is the same problem the Lions have. It's too vanilla. There's nothing that is tricking these offenses into, yep, they're sending 4, they're dropping 3, they're sending 4. It's just time and time and time again. It's time that AG finally does something different in this game, because if he doesn't, I have a feeling it's going to be a long day in Chicago, and we're not going to like it because Chicago's gunning for us after what we did to them last time in that fourth quarter comeback. So anything else you want to add on the Detroit defense? Do you have any keys to the game, if you will, for the Lions offense to do something to win this game?
You know what, man? I mean, I would say stop Justin Fields, but at the same time, I think that we have to make him pass. We have to. Here's what I think we need to do. We need to limit him running. Okay, he's going to get his. That's what he does until he's knocked out of the game. We have to get some type of pressure on him, which seems like we're not able to do, right? Because he's going to get out of it. If we do, he's going to run right. He's going to run left. As a matter of fact, the last play of the game, I think it was the last play of the game, when Hutch came, strip, sack, fumble, the entire left side of the field was wide open. And you mentioned something the other day about a QB spy, which I know is something we don't do. And I seem to believe we don't have the personnel to do that. So keys to the game is limit Justin Fields on the ground, force him to throw, and get him to the ground when he is holding that football. And of course, we got to cut down on the turnovers. Can't be turning the ball over 5 times. Jared Goff, hold on to the ball. Josh Reynolds, hold on to the ball. If you have the ball in your hands, hold on to the football. I think there's no way we should turn the ball over. Watch we play a cleaner game outside with the win than we did at home with it being still. Watch it happen.
You know, the thing that I see, a couple of keys for the defense is, one, if it's going to be wet and slippery, well, punch the ball out. We've got to be attacking the ball. The Lions defense has been doing a pretty good job at trying to attack the ball and punch it out, but we're just not getting the turnovers. We have to win over the turnover margin in this game. I'd like to see the Lions flip the field in this one. Goff threw 3 picks last time. I'd like to see the Lions get a pick and get a fumble in this game. I think that the elements are going to be ripe for an opportunity or two for the Lions to do that and capitalize and be able to score off of it is what I'm worried about. On the other side of the ball, our red zone offense has to get going for those, turnovers to make sense. For it to help your team, you have to get points. So if this Lions defense is going to finally wake up and come alive and help the offense win, we've got to get turnovers. I really believe that, one, it's not going to happen, but I really believe in the scheme that, if you're not getting home on the front, then it's time to shut it down and just play contain up front and bring in more DBs and more linebackers and try to do something different. They have a 5-4. It's just not a 5-4 that I would run. I would put 5 up front, but it wouldn't be 5 defensive linemen or defensive tackles or defensive ends. I'd put 3 up and I'd bring in some more linebackers and some more safeties to have more speed. It looks like Alex Anzalone will be back. He was a full participant. Outside of Aleem McNeil, we don't have anybody that's really injured going into this game. So the Lions should be pretty healthy outside of Aleem, which means we're not going to get a ton of pressure from his side of the ball, which means put Aiden on the other side or put Aiden next to somebody that is big enough to take up a gap and a half or 2. The biggest problem I think the Lions are having is, if you guys remember, we went to a gap and a half system this year. Last year, we were a single gap defense. Now we're a gap and a half. And if you remember, it's basically, you do a 90 degree with your arms and that's your gap. Well, now you're taking over half of the other gap. So when you do that, they have to learn, hey, big shout out for Steve K there on the super chat at $20. That's the largest one I've ever seen, man. Thank you. Really appreciate that.
Man. That's what the Fields effect does, man. The syndicate,
the Fields effect.
The Fields effect. Yeah, I got to give you a shout out to Steve K, man, with the dono. Appreciate you, man.
Well, awesome, Steve. Much appreciated, my man. So taking over this gap and a half scheme, it's just a little bit different. These guys have to learn it. And that's where you have to be able to have more power up front and get leverage. And I'm afraid to see what Broderick Martin is going to bring to the table if he does anything like he did in that Raiders game, man. He was getting just pushed around and bullied by a team that he really shouldn't have been. And we need him to come up big in this game. If he's going to get in, we need to see Broderick get through this offensive line and allow Aiden to finally get the pressure to get home. So that's really all I have for the defense tonight. I'd like to move into a little bit of the offense, if that's okay with you, Derek.
It is, but first, man, you gotta see. Will is new to the super chat game. You gotta shout the super chat out, man, and eventually read it. We don't have to do it right now.
What do you got to read? I'm sorry.
It's usually the super chat thing where you read the super chat and stuff like that. So I'm sorry.
You read the message that they sent in. See, I don't know this stuff, Steve. I apologize. But Steve says in $20 from Steve, he says, what's the over under for land before time sacks? Which land before time? We talking Bruce Irvin? He's the original land before time per Derek Fields.
Yeah, I think he's talking about that. I'm going to say over under. I'm going to say under 2.5, under 2.5 for the land before time.
Under 2.5. I'm just going to go over on the 1. I think he's going to have at least 1. Yeah.
Okay.
Right. he might come up big in this game. He's got to get more than 11 snaps. That's what I'm worried about. Are they going to get him more than 11 snaps?
Yes.
And Steve, I apologize for not knowing the super chat game. I'm a weirdo. Like, I don't ask for that stuff, or at least I haven't yet. All I ask for is if you guys are new and you're just coming across our channel or my channel, just subscribe. Just come on in, join us for the rest of the season. We're trying to get to a certain number, 3,500 at least by Christmas. That'd be a great Christmas gift. And we'll keep building. And we're trying to build out a new podcast with Mr. Fields here and have some fun this off season. So again, much appreciated, Steve. You're the best, man.
Okay, Will, do your thing, man. I got to take care of some business. I'll be right back. Just drop me out.
I got you. So Lions offensive keys. Give me 1 second here. Lions offensive keys. I want to talk about the pass pro for a second. Protecting Goff in the shotgun, and Ragnow out. The Lions were missing Jonah Jackson in the last game. So we're expecting more of a big push up the middle and on the left side of the offense to Jared's blind side from the Chicago defense. Goff took on more pressure, forcing bad choices in that last game, causing him to scramble, which ultimately turned into some interceptions. Now that the offense is without Ragnow, a lot of people are expecting this middle rush, and they're also expecting for our run game to be kind of paltry up the middle. I'm not thinking it's going to be that way. In shotgun, Goff has a little bit more time. He can still run. He can still run the draw or the outside or the inside zone. And he can put Laporta and Wright in motion, right, to get the crackdown blocks, which not the illegal crackdown block, but catch the guys as they're coming up the middle. Putting these guys in motion, the defense is going to think that they're about to go through the middle or off the end and go up and run a route. That doesn't always have to be the case. These guys can come down and block. I haven't seen where Ben Johnson has been utilizing motion in that way to get the blocks inside the zone, right, where Goff is. And he can definitely utilize it this weekend if he's worried about Graham Glasgow. And I'm not worried about Glasgow at all. And I'll explain that in just a few minutes as well. But look, scrap the fullback play. It hasn't been working the greatest, and it's a dead giveaway. The minute you put a fullback in there, you put Rodrigo in there, they know you're running the ball. So scrap it, move on, and do something different. The Lions can really take a big opportunity here to kind of run through the blitz. We have two powerful backs, dynamic duo, Montgomery and Gibbs. There is no reason in the world why you can't still run out of the shotgun to make sure that you have a little bit extra time. Like I said, run the draw, run the inside, run the outside zone, do a pitch, do the jet sweep, whatever you want to do. There's opportunities to beat the blitz, inside or outside. Lastly, I think Glasgow's been solid, and his stats prove it. He's had 3 pressures in the last 125 snaps at center, and out of 725 snaps the entire season, he's only given up 1 sack. So I think that the Lions are better off with Ragnow out versus any other lineman that's been out this season. Glasgow has played head and shoulders above where anybody thought that he was going to. The weak link is going to be at the right guard. So I do expect the Lions to be run left heavy, off the left end, off Glasgow's back, and Jonah Jackson. I think that's where a lot of our run game is going to be this weekend. The biggest thing that I saw, and I got to switch pages here. Give me just a second. The biggest thing that I saw out of the last game was where the Chicago Bears struggled with Lions going up tempo. And this one was big to me. The Bears have struggled with up tempo all season. And in week 11, the Lions had success with going up tempo, and it wasn't even close to being covered by the Bears. I want to see the Lions start hot and fast. It's something that we haven't really done in the third quarter all season. The second half, we've been falling flat. And I want to see the Lions put an emphasis on a short passing game. And I know not everybody loves the short passing game, but there's a reason for it when the elements are there. When it's windy, when it's wet, when it's cold, you're not going to be able to dial up these long bombs all the time. So short passing game, 7 to 10 yards with an emphasis on yak potential. You mix it with the shotgun draw and outside zone runs that have also been very effective for the Lions this entire season. I wouldn't mind seeing J-Mo getting involved here, though, with his speed, and it's going to be grass, so he's going to have a real good footing. Getting J-Mo on these outside zone plays could be for an incredible day for J-Mo on Sunday. I'm willing to bet that J-Mo's going to have a bigger day than he's had the last few games. When the Lions get their mismatches, this one is key, right? The Lions got to get their mismatches and go up tempo right away. When you catch the Bears defense that you like and you get those mismatches, you go up tempo, and I would like to see the Lions roll up, not make any substitutions. You go 3, 4, 5 plays in a row hard, keeping the Bears stuck, right? They can't make any substitutions unless you do. Press the gas. You get multiple first downs and try to take one deep shot if the weather obviously allows it. On the second Lions TD in week 11, the Bears were caught after that first play and that first down. The Lions went up tempo right away. And we saw that 3 plays, no huddle, shotgun formation. They moved the ball 34 yards really quickly. This was the end of the second quarter. It's typical play when you're trying to play catch up and you're down, but it worked. And you don't expect it to always work, but it worked. So I want to see the Lions utilize it again, but not wait for end of the second quarter, end of the fourth quarter. Start out with it in the third quarter. Start out with it in the first quarter. Get a decent lead. You get up, you get the lead, and you stay there by pressing the gas. Not like last weekend where they got the 21-0 lead and they let them right back in the game. We can't see that happen again. That partly was the defense's fault, but it was also the offense kind of switching gears, and they started going to something that wasn't working, and they just got so bullheaded. We saw like 4 or 5, 3 and outs in that second half that really muddled the offense's, drive. They weren't going anywhere, and they couldn't pick it up quick enough. So I'd like to see the Lions start out with Gibbs, not Monty, outside zone versus inside run, focus on quick passes and short screen plays, which again is something that we're not seeing enough of. We're not seeing enough screen plays. I really want them to stop throwing that hitch play. And I think you guys know what I'm talking about. It's, you've got a 3x1 or a triple set or a bunch set out to the right, and you're throwing that quick hitch. Every time they've thrown that pass, but one time it has not worked. So it'd be nice to see him, get that guy to come in motion towards the center of the line. And, looks Derek's back. Here we go. Sorry, I didn't see you, buddy. I get to rambling, man. So where was I? The hitch play. It just hasn't worked all season. So the thing that I want to see Ben Johnson do different, and look, I'm not some genius like Ben Johnson or AG or Dan Gamble. It's just what I see. And no, I don't play Madden, so it doesn't come from there either. But I want to see him get the guy in motion. So when you have J-Mo coming in motion towards the center of the line, and then you throw that hitch, he's already moving. His legs are already going. He's up, getting into top speed quickly. That's how that play can be effective. You still have to stick behind your blockers. And for whatever reason, our hitch play is getting broken up at the line. So I'm on offense and just kind of giving some things that I'd like to see the Lions do. And I talked about going up tempo. The Bears were wide open on up tempo the last game. They couldn't stop it. It was typical timing, right? End of the second, end of the fourth. But I want to see him use it early and definitely use it in the third quarter and get up on these guys quick. So that's it for my up-tempo game. And Goff in the shotgun obviously is a must this weekend.
Yeah.
The one thing that I wanted to add about Goff in the shotgun is Goff got into trouble the last game when he was under pressure 18 times and tossed those 3 picks. The Lions were without Jonah Jackson. And that created a ton of pressure off the left side and the blind side of Jared Goff. The problem was Colby Sorsdahl, rookie, 5th-round pick. I think he's going to be good. I don't think he's going to be an all-star number one anytime soon. But I think he's going to be pretty good, in the next couple of seasons. He's just not ready right now.
He's a 5th-round pick. So
exactly. Yeah. I would expect that the Bears plan to rush the middle and rush off Colby. And so what I was saying is they're going to go, I would expect the Lions to go more left run. But the Lions need to be ready to feed Montgomery or Gibbs with the outside zone and even inside zone by sucking the defense in, shielding them off and running right through that blitz. This is going to be highly dependent upon Glasgow and Sorsdahl. If they're holding up on the run blocking, Graham's been, much better in the run blocking versus pass blocking. But Sorsdahl will be in the right guard spot unless a miracle happens, which I don't think is going to happen. And Frank Ragnow is able to go. So you want to add any of that?
It's official that he is officially out.
Yeah, I didn't read the injury report to start, but I see that now.
Yep, he's officially out, so he is donezo. So, yep, it's going to be that way.
So Colby's in.
Yeah, buddy, and that's going to be a long day. And I agree with you 100% because Jared Goff is a guy that is phenomenal when he has time. But just like any other quarterback, they're great when you have time. But Jared Goff, to me, is exceptional when he has time. Like, I know he might not have the Stafford arm. He might not have the Josh Allen legs, but he is an accurate quarterback, which I think a lot of people, they lose inside of, his fumbleitis at times, which he does in 2019 from 2019 until recently. He led the league in turnovers, and that is a problem. And we see what happens when Jared Goff turns the ball over. It's unfortunate that all of those stats go toward the quarterback. And one thing I noticed too, Will, and I don't know, let me know if you agree with this. So Jared Goff you see some of the throws. The Lions put up the probability of throws, and they did like the top 3 most difficult throws and the probability of them being completed. And you watch them sometimes and you're like, whoa, that was a tight window, could have went either way. But let me know if you think that Jared Goff he talked about his accuracy being his strongest, asset as a quarterback.
Sure.
How accurate, like, do you believe in his accuracy? Do you believe, if you go back to the Bears game and you look at Jared Goff's interceptions, the question is, do you think, like I do, that some of them from that game were miscommunication, bad timing on Jared Goff's part, or miscommunication as far as a lot of option routes, things like that? Because it seems like when it comes to Jared Goff, sometimes he just throw a bad ball. But most of the time it is the receiver was supposed to be here, but they're there, pick to the house. So do you think it's more, what do you think it is?
I got about 5 things on this, 5 quick things. So number 1,
wow.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, hey, they're all there in the memory bank. So number 1, that first interception on Laporta had that illegal contact, or I'm sorry, the Bears had the illegal contact on Laporta, but they didn't call it. So that was not an interception on Goff. That was, you could call it a miscommunication, but Laporta couldn't get to his spot. It's a timing route.
Yep.
He was wide open.
Goes on Goff.
Yep. So it's not on Goff. The second one, DPJ slipped behind the DB. I feel like he was in the wrong area. You don't slip behind a DB to catch a ball. You slip in front, right? Unless he's going to keep working across the middle, but Goff threw the ball right where he slipped. So was it on DPJ? Probably. Goff still has to look that off. He's got to look and see that there's two DBs too tight. You can't throw that ball. That one's on Goff.
Wait. But if Goff he's a surgeon with the ball, he believes he can get that in there. So if he's confident, and we've seen him throw some stuff, Will.
This is the last game he threw balls he shouldn't have thrown, but the last one to Reynolds he shouldn't have thrown, but he did.
So my question is to allude to what you were saying and feed off that. Do you think he shouldn't have thrown it? You got to look him off, or he was confident in his ability to get it there?
I think he was under too much pressure. So that would have been my third point, is that, look, every single quarterback in the NFL, first, second, third, fourth string, you line them up on a 20-yard line and you say, hit that bucket, hit that net, hit that, hit this. They're going to hit it. Every single one of them is going to hit it. Their accuracy is insane. Under pressure, different story. So thankfully, Goff is one of the best to do it. There was a stat that came out earlier in the season that under 2.4 seconds, Goff was one of the most accurate quarterbacks in the NFL. Matter of fact, he might have been the most accurate quarterback in the NFL.
Okay, Will, say that one more time for the people in the back.
Yeah, so under 2.4 seconds, Goff was one of the most accurate quarterbacks in the NFL, and that was a stat that came out earlier in the season. So, in my opinion, look, Goff under pressure is great. Goff under pressure and running, not so great. I call him a giraffe for the reason that when he runs, he's kind of clunky.
Yeah, he is.
And he was under so much pressure. You know, it was only 18 pressures, but it was the way he was pressured. It was blindside, you know, or off his back that, you know, he couldn't see, couldn't feel it. And there's not much communication happening there. I mean, that's a feel it. You got to get out of there. And sometimes I felt like he got out a little too quick and too clunky. I mean, look, he didn't even slide. I thought he was going to break himself. So look, I think that Goff is just fine. I really do. I heard someone say that he's got small hands. I don't think this is a Kenny Pickett situation. Goff's like 6'6". I mean, his hands have been fine. Yeah, he throws a few wobbly balls here or there, but everything in slow motion looks wobbly. So, yeah. You know, you watch it live. I mean, he threads the ball. And the last thing I'll leave you with is this. A few years ago, there was a test that was done with all the quarterbacks in the league. I think 100 quarterbacks tested. Baker Mayfield. I think Matt Stafford did. I think Lamar Jackson didn't. Josh Allen did. Patrick Mahomes did. And it was basically release point speed of the ball. And Goff, I think, was at 56 miles per hour at release.
Wow.
And that was the third fastest time out of all quarterbacks. Only Mahomes, Josh Allen, Matt Stafford were faster. The fastest time was 60. So you're telling me that Goff is only separated by 4 miles per hour from the fastest ball in the league. That's not much. And when it comes, you know, to hitting a deep route, like JMO, they say you can't throw to JMO because JMO's too quick. Is 4 miles per hour on your ball going to make up that time? Doubtful. So there's a lot that we could go into and dissect with Jared Goff. I think that, you know, when you look at his overall ability, he's one of the best to do it in the league. And everybody needs an offensive line. Every quarterback needs. I don't want to hear that excuse either that he needs everything to be perfect. Every quarterback needs everything to be perfect. That's how the game is designed. The one fatal flaw that we all have as fans is all of this is happening in 2.5 seconds. Now you go out there and dance around in your parking lot in your underwear and you bounce around for 2.5 seconds. You tell me how many times you're going to be able to turn, you know, on your tippy toes back and forth and fire off balls because you might get one off.
Yeah. And this is from the snap, right?
Yeah. From the snap.
Right. So if it's a 3-step drop, a 5-step drop, a 7-step drop, those seconds are in there as well. So
you're adding a few. I mean, you're adding a little bit of time to it. You know,
so my thing is this: when it comes to Jared Goff, is when people are talking about the one thing that they want to focus on too is they want to see explosive plays from Jameson Williams. We all want to see it. That's why we drafted him, right? But the thing is he missed an open JMO. That's what I hear. He missed an open JMO. And you and I were having this conversation off air. To go with that 2.4 seconds, if JMO is not his first read, he's not missing JMO. If you are going through St. Brown, Laporta, Reynolds, maybe Gibbs as an outlet, yes, by the time you hit Gibbs, you probably are either running or have to get rid of the ball, right? So JMO, by this time, is behind a defensive back and he gone. But one thing, if you look at the JMO, I think it was last Sunday, across the middle, one of the first plays of the game, Jameson Williams caught it. The week before that, I want to say he caught it, got lit up, right? That was an earlier progression read where Jameson Williams was in there. If Jameson, because you can tell, Will, when Jameson Williams is read number 1, you can tell it from the very beginning. It's a up, JMO's out there, 3-step drop, 5-step drop. He launching it, it's gone. Might be a duck or two sometimes, but that's what I'm saying. Like, everything is Jared Goff's fault. He misses JMO. He didn't run. What I saw from him on Sunday was I saw a quarterback whose offensive line was literally crumbling, something from Inception. Okay. He was getting tackled, got it off, and secured the ball game. And how many times have we seen that this season alone?
Right.
At how he ended last year. It is incredible, but Jared Goff is
it's not quite Matt Stafford, sidearm incredible, threading it through, what's that one movie where they bend the bullets? I mean, that's Matt Stafford. Yeah. Right. But I mean, Jared Goff, he still makes some pretty amazing plays. And you're right that first read to JMO, the first play of the game or the first pass of the game, JMO had to be the hot button on that one because it was too quick. And there's no way that there was another read right there. And you can tell when Goff knows he's going to the certain receiver and they're open, he's going to hit them. Very, very infrequently have we ever seen Goff throw a bad ball to a wide open receiver in route. It's a long pass or it's, the third or fourth option that's maybe not so clean and you're trying to make it happen. But if these guys are in motion, you got to remember too, this is all timing. If you are not on your spot and Goff throws that ball when you're not even looking, because if you go back and watch some of these plays, that ball is out and the receiver's not looking.
Yep.
They're supposed to be on that dot at that time, and Goff throws a laser. And if you're not there, it's either picked or tipped, picked and tipped, or tipped and picked, or dropped, right? Or it's going in the dirt. And that's not all Goff's fault. It's casualty of the game. It is what it is.
Yeah.
Let me get to a few chats. I've kind of left these guys alone for a minute, and I apologize. You guys are awesome, by the way. When I do read these, and I do read where you guys are all talking to each other, I just think it's incredible. Lions fans are the best in the world. We really are. All right, so I'm going to wind all the way back here to Brent at 8:35 p.m. So that's like a half hour ago. Brent says, "Hey guys, why doesn't AG send 4 and also a safety or run a 3-4?" and send a couple linebackers and just mix it up instead of always sending 4. Derek, you want to take that one?
Why doesn't AG send 4 and also run safety? Okay, so I'm if I'm reading that right, he's always sending 4 and nothing more. Is that what I'm reading?
Always sending the 4 up front, and we're rarely sending anybody else, from the DB.
Well, I said it earlier, B, and shout out to B because he's in my chat as well. Is my opinion is we don't have the personnel. I mean, we've seen it happen. Derek Barnes, he can't get through. I mean, Alex Anzalone, he gets through sometimes. But if you bring those 7, if you bring somebody, a Tracy Walker up who gets sacks occasionally as well, then you have the middle of the field is open. You have Jerry Jacobs. Usually in a situation like that, it's him. If you bring a safety up to make a blitz, if you bring a Walker, a Brian Branch, that means it's one-on-one back there. And Cam Sutton is solid. Jerry Jacobs is not. So I think he has to rely on the front 4 because the back 7 needs some help. Alex Anzalone, tackling machine. He's pretty good in coverage as well if it's the right player, right? And that's what I think. And that's why I was so adamant at the trade deadline. Bring somebody in here that can help those 4 get to the quarterback because we don't have a Sauce Gardner. We don't have a Darrell Revis. We don't have those guys in the secondary that can go one-on-one. We really don't. Cam is solid, but I mean, he's not a shutdown corner. He just doesn't make many mistakes. I mean, he maximizes his potential. Same thing with Jerry. Jerry does the same thing. So that's my thought, man. We just don't have the personnel.
I like your take there on Sutton. And I got a question for you because, and I don't remember if we spoke about this. We might have. Cam Sutton, was he brought in to be a number 1 or a number 2 long-term? And that's my first part of this question. And the other part is more of a statement. Cam Sutton, you don't hear his name very often because either 1, the quarterbacks are not throwing at him, or number 2, he's just having a good day.
Yeah.
Rarely do we see him have a bad day. And I feel like his bad days have been compounded by, Jerry Jacobs having a bad day and getting targeted all day, right? Or Iffy or Kirby, who's supposed to, be over top and sliding, the sliding safety or the rover safety, just not in their spot. And when Sutton is supposed to get beat and stay down, it looks like Sutton's getting beat, but it was really the safety. So back to question number 1, do you think he was brought in to be a number 1 or a number 2? And my answer to that would be, I think long-term he was brought in to be a number 2, and that the Lions are going to make a major upgrade here in this offseason. and we might see a new number one come in. And I could only imagine if we get a number one, a true number one on this team, and Cam Sutton is a number two. It would truly be a lockdown situation that we are looking for with Mosley. If Mosley could have got back to his prime, to where he was. But we know the unfortunate story of Mosley. So what say you, Derek? What do you think? Was Sutton going to be our number one this whole time for 3 seasons?
No, not for 3 seasons. No, I agree with you 100%. Don't think it was this year that they, a lot of people think they wanted Witherspoon. I don't think that at all. I think this year you had Cam 1, you had Mosley 2, and then that unfortunate circumstance happened. So I agree with you. I think that Brad does not have a choice either in free agency. You got the guy from Chicago, he'll be available, or you can go, on the cheaper side and get somebody through the draft. Is it going to be that late first round pick? If you do that, Will, that means you got to pick up somebody in free agency. So
you have to.
Brad is going to have to do something. So here's what I say. And we talk about this all the air off the time or off the air all the time. And I joke about Brad Holmes, about him being, thrifty, the Dollar General, Mr. Allen, for those of you local in Detroit. 29 or 2 for 50, right? 29 or 2 for 50 is what it used to be. But this year, Brad Holmes is going to have to do something. We need a lot of pieces. When I say that, we need a defensive lineman. We need a secondary cornerback. We need a true number 2. And is Brad Holmes going to maximize the draft and free agency? To me, he has to do both. So to answer your question, Sutton, solid number 2 for the, year 2 and 3. But this year, I think number 1. He was supposed to be number 1 this year, number 2 going forward.
See, I like that too. And TaylorMade Media brought up a good point too, that, Sutton being brought in for leadership. I feel like that's kind of like multifold. One, I think he was brought in for leadership of the DB group and to really be the leader of that group as the number 1. And then number 2, leadership in the locker room. Cam is as solid as they come. Mm-hmm. When you listen to that guy talk, man, I mean, he's all about the right stuff. I think to expand upon this a little more too is I think that Brad Holmes realizes that number 1, if you really want to go get a solid cornerback, it's going to be that guy looking for his second contract. It's got 4 seasons behind him, so you know what type of player he is. He may not be a true number 1 like a Jalen Ramsey or James Bradbury or Jamel Dean or whoever in their prime, their best season. Yeah. He can work with someone that's maybe a little bit less and get a lot more out of them. But to bring in a rookie, Jeff Okudah never had the opportunity to be under a Cam Sutton in Detroit. That's how Detroit failed him. He never had an opportunity to be under someone to learn. He was brought in and we had the mass exodus with Patricia coming in and he was all alone, all by himself. Right. I believe Tracy Walker was there, but I think he was young buck too coming in. So if Jeff Okudah would have had somebody, injuries aside, if he would have had somebody, he could have been a much better corner in this league. And I feel like the Lions aren't going to do that a second time. Obviously, Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell wouldn't do it for a first time because they're not going to make that mistake. Right. They have their leader. They have the guy that can do it and can teach it at a high level. They're going to bring in a rookie that's going to have, to be able to sit and be at the number 2 for a season. And you don't force them into a number 1 role where they're going to make all those mistakes. Right. Then you get down on your confidence. That ruins cornerbacks. The cornerbacks are some of the most, how do you say it? The feistiest, ego-driven guys on the team, I feel. When they get butthurt bad. And it's hard to shake it off. You get passed on for a deep, 60-yard touchdown and you're hurt the rest of the game mentally. So that would really hurt a rookie, and it does. You don't get Sauce Gardners too often. That's a once in, a blue moon shot there. But I see the Lions bringing somebody in that can sit for a season as a number 2. Keep Sutton where he is at 1. Jacobs back to 3 if he's still under contract. And I think they'll be well on their way as long as they add somebody in free agency.
You know what? Let me just real quick, man. I never thought about that. And I'm very tough on these guys. I am no holds barred. Very hard on them, man. From Jameson Williams, Jeff Okudah, hated it. I hated it from the very beginning. Hated it. Most Lions fans wanted Isaiah Simmons that year. I hated the whole thing. And while I feel like I gave him a chance, what you just said kind of made me think a bit. We talk about how hard is the cornerback position. Everybody want to say it's the hardest thing to learn. It takes 3 years. They want to give him this cushion to be the best version of themselves. Well, Jeff is there now, and he's no longer a Detroit Lion, and he's playing decent in Atlanta, but he's not playing like a 3rd overall pick. But I never thought about it like that, about a guy who needs his confidence, needs a mentor. I think about it from the quarterback position, but I've never thought about any other position. That's a real good point, man, because Jeff Okudah, I'm going to be honest, I never gave him a chance. I always knew he was going to flake out here in Detroit, but I never looked at it like, you know what? He had Amani or Warrior. He didn't have like that guy that could come back and a Cam Sutton, a seasoned vet with some skill. This guy was a dog in Pittsburgh, and when we got him, Pittsburgh was sick, and they came and said, hey, you're getting a player in Cam Sutton. So you know what, man? I never thought of it like that, about that type of scenario with Jeff.
I think the number one thing any DB has to learn is emotional intelligence and get smart with it, because they're so hot all the time. They are driven to be the best. And the minute you have somebody like a Cam Sutton that's, so cool, calm, and collected, they can teach you everything, your game is going to excel that much quicker. And if you don't have to go out and be the number one guy to make all those mistakes, you're going to be that much better off. They always say, the hardest positions to learn, number one is tight end. And look what we're getting out of Sam Laporta. Obviously quarterback, center, because you have to know all the calls, middle linebacker, because you have to know all the calls. Then I think it kind of bounces over to corner and safety, but those are the hardest positions to learn. It's just the ones that take the longest to master is probably more of a corner, because of, you have to learn all the intricate routes and every route tree you have to know, every single angle of the game. And then all the calls on, run defense and so on and so forth. But yeah, go ahead. What were you going to say?
No, I was just going to say, man, like the points that you're bringing up, if you are a cornerback, it's like you standing across from me. It's me and you. It's me and you. You beat me. If I let you beat me, you're probably going to score, right? Like you might have some safety help. You might not. If you don't, it's me and you. When you have the defensive line, you got 1, 2, 3, 4 guys. You bring a blitz. You got the second level coming in. But a cornerback position, it is you and me 9 times out of 10. Right? Mano all the time. And I never really thought about it like that, man. I just saw it from like the Jeff Okudah stinks and blah, blah, blah. And he's trash and all of this stuff, which I'm still going to stick by that. But at the same time, I see that if you have a position like that, you're coming out of the NFL draft, 3rd overall pick. Should you have been there? That's up for debate. But you're out there and it's mano y mano. It's usually no help. And just like Jerry now, Jerry is getting toasted, but he can tackle his behind off. So at the same, I might give a little bit of slack to these guys. I might do that. Just a little bit, bro. Just maybe 10%.
No, it's a little late in the season, and these guys are not rookies. So let's talk about Sam Laporta real quick. Look, guys, fans, Lions fans, we have a special one. We have a rare breed in Detroit. What Sam Laporta is doing is nothing short of amazing. I mean, he is so close of breaking Mike Ditka's record, the all-time tight end rookie record. He's about 398 yards away. It's a tough shot. But if he has one more breakout game and then averages, 55 yards a game for the rest of the way, he can do it. I believe in the kid. He's an extremely intelligent kid. He had an incredible quote the other day at the press box when he was asked, when are you going to sit back and, kind of revel in your accomplishments this season? And he said, I'm not until the season's done, because it clouds your mental And I'm not verbatim here, but he basically said that you can't really think about that stuff because it's all about the team. And as it's not me right now, it's the team. And I don't want to, be clouded thinking about my accomplishments. So if you have a chance, go back and watch the Detroit Lions, press conferences. They've got some amazing things, after the games and throughout the week, but definitely after the game, after the Saints game, listen to Sam Laporta. And I think that you'll appreciate him just a little bit more.
I agree.
We're coming up on ending the show here in just a few minutes. So I apologize about not getting the phone lines open tonight. I wanted to, but things just kind of got off and running, and that's okay. We'll do it next time. We got to learn each other a little bit too, and how we do things. But just a quick, let's take the temperature of the room. Is everybody thinking that this is going to be a good show for us to do in the future? You're not going to hurt our feelings. Do you like what you're hearing? Is there anything you want to hear differently? If you do, we'll be more than happy to take your ideas and put them in. No?
Well, he's too nice. They know what's up. They know what's up. Will, it's like Will's from Canada or something, or from the UK. Super nice, man. We know they like us. They know, because listen, well, like I said to begin with, and I'm not a horn tooter, but today I'm a toot. I've been in this business for 5 years, multiple different situations, on my own, with others, back on my own, back with others. And now to find a guy that you can talk about football forever, right? Mm-hmm. To find a guy that is like, Will, I was falling asleep. You talking about all these numbers, bro. I was over here. I wanted to wait. When I remember listening to your show, I was like, man, this is, if you driving, you gonna be in trouble. Don't be on no long road trip. Cause I was like, this dude don't look at the chat and nothing else. But of course they love it. So what we do is we give them more of what they want. And I already know they want it because they watch you, they watch me. To us together, it's like beautiful music, man. So, hey, we appreciate Will's being nice. I know what y'all want. You like it and you want it. So we're going to give you some more.
So I want to wrap up with one thing that I didn't talk about in the beginning. And that was what I started with, was the Lions getting back to who they were. Right? What is a Lion? What is a Detroiter? It's what I started with. And I got these 4 points of what it means to be a Detroiter. And I feel like it kind of means something about this team and where we're going and where we're headed. And a real Detroiter takes pride in factory worker heritage, right? That they share with someone possibly in their family. Detroit is a powerful image, one that evokes visions of grit, toil, and solidarity, while ignoring all the exploitation, economic hardship, and racial prejudice that were predominant experiences of many actually living in the city of Detroit during the pre- and post-war heydays. The second point, and that's Motor City. That's what Motor City is all about. The second point is always buy American and hometown brands, which are vital to any true Detroiters experience. All real Detroiters know about Stroh's, Cadillac, Motown, Hudson's, Farmer Jack, Sanders, Faygo, and Little Caesars. Don't forget Verner's. All great brands, some of which actually still exist in the city. Always buy American and hometown brands. Music is where Detroit really started to resonate with people. Being a Detroiter means being familiar with one or more than just the first 5 songs of the Motown Gold CD. For instance, did you know that there are more than 19 songs, or at least 19 songs on that CD? Knowing those will even convince me you are from Detroit. I'm talking about Four Tops, Diana Ross and the Supremes, Marvin Gaye, Junior Walker and the All-Stars, Stevie Wonder, the Jackson 5, Martha Reeves and the Vandellas, Gladys Knight and the Pips, the Supremes, Michael Jackson, the Temptations, Cyrita, the Commodores. This is Detroit. So if you want to know what it's like to be a Detroiter, Detroit is a state of mind. And that's where these Lions are headed in 2023-24, to give us and put us into a state of mind of confidence. This team's on to another win on Sunday. Derek, what are you thinking? Do you want to do any score predictions today, or are you just going to call win and loss?
Yeah, you know I do score predictions. They stupid. So I'm going to do Lions win their last outside game of the season. I'm going to say they get the dub.
Yeah, I think they're going to get the dub, and I think they're definitely going to cover. Look, I don't think this is going to be a wild game. I almost feel like it's going to be another nail biter. And I think it all really depends upon what happens on Saturday. and the cold front that's potentially coming in, I think that's going to affect this team. Yeah. We haven't played outside this season in any sort of weather, and I don't think we really did last season until the last game of the year. So they've shown that they can do it, right? They did it on the ground in the last season against the Packers, and I think that's what we're going to look for this weekend is a ground game and some shorter passes. So I wouldn't be all excited looking for deep bombs to JMO. Let's just hope that he gets involved and makes it a good game. So that's all for me tonight. Derek, do you have anything else you want to add?
I just wanted, did you write that whole thing about Detroit? Was that written?
Yeah, it's written.
Pretty good, man. That was pretty good. It was pretty good.
Written and remembered. I can't remember all 19 songs, man. I'm not that good.
Well, listen, since this show is called Off the Cuff, I'm going to go off the cuff right now. And I'm going to tell you more what the city of Detroit is. The city of Detroit, all right? Those of you who are in Detroit, who lived in Detroit, who are from Detroit, who have never been to Detroit, it is like Will said, I think the most important thing out of all that was state of mind.
Yeah.
We talk about Detroit versus everybody. And that is a true statement. Right now, the media, the bandwagons fans, they don't know where they want to be on, whether they want to be off. Stephen A. Smith, everybody, Rich Eisen, love you. But everybody's on, everybody's off. But we're still here. We were here in 0-16. We were here when 9-7 wasn't good enough and we couldn't beat the good teams. We're here when we lost to Matt Flynn in 2011 for the NFC North. And we're here now. We were here during Matt Patricia thanking his wife right before he got fired, which to me was the lowest part of anybody's Detroit Lions fandom. And now we're here. And the Lions are doing fantastic right now. But remember, it's always okay to want better. It's always okay to want more. And I think that these guys, we saw it last year, and under Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes, they are not going to quit. And the last thing I'll say, as we go forward with this YouTube thing and the Detroit Lions, is Lions fans, don't ever settle for less. Don't talk about tanking. Do not. Tanking is despicable. And last year, I heard it with Jalen Carter. The year before that, I heard it with whatever quarterback y'all wanted. Okay. And we are better than that. We are better than that. That's not what this city is about. This city is about fighting until we can't fight anymore. And that's what these Detroit Lions are doing. I know I'm hard on them. Y'all know that. That's because that's the only way I know how to be. I know how to be, and I know how to tell it like it is and like I see it. And I know this team is capable of more than they're doing right now. They got to get that defense together, man. Will, I would have called us frauds had we lost, because you don't get spotted 21 in less than 7 minutes and let them watch come back into the game. You know what I'm saying? But they held on and they beat them. But to fight with the big boys, you got to get big. So that's what I want to see, man. So that's all I'll say. Appreciate you, man, for having me on. And let's do it again.
Absolutely. I mean, I agree with all of that, and definitely going to do it again. So, the one thing that I'll finish with, like Derek said, is if you want the truth, like I always say, I'm going to give you the truth, the honest, the transparent opinions, the facts, the stats. Derek is the same way. He wears it on his sleeve, but at the same time, we're both big fans. Like, we're going to pump them up when they deserve it. We're going to talk about it, when they deserve it and they really deserve it. But we're also going to tell you what we see, on both sides of the coin. Yeah. Dan Campbell said something in this most recent one of his most recent press conferences that will resonate with what Derek just said. When your coach or your teacher, right? Things have changed in a long time over the period of time here. But when your coach or your teacher's getting on you, cussing you out, whatever, it's because they like you and you're probably worth something. When people stop talking to you and they stop giving you attention, that's when you worry. So right now, the Detroit Lions are getting a ton of love and a ton of attention from myself and from Derek and from you. And that's because we love our Detroit Lions. We're here for them. We're going to give them that kick in the butt when we need to. We're here every single day for them doing what we do right here, right now. So that's all for me at Rockdown Podcast Network and Rockdown Detroit Lions. And Derek Fields, thank you so much with Lions Fan Syndicate now at Lions Fan Syndicate, but the Detroit Lions Syndicate. And we appreciate all you guys out there watching and listening. And please do me a favor. I only ask you just about every show, but if you're new and you guys love what you hear, give us a subscribe. Come on in, join us for the rest of the season, and we'll see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.
Wants to throw it to Sewell. He caught it. He Sewell with a first down. Oh, yes. The big man dives down the 31-yard line. Oh, that is beautiful. Fields looking, pressured, hit from behind, taken down. Aiden Hutchinson got him.
No respect.
So, we look like we're ready. This is day one.